Hey everyone, welcome to episode 57 of the Unknown Comics Podcast. Yes, it's been a few weeks since we did our last one. We're trying to figure out a rhythm because, things have changed internally, so our schedule for all of our videos and everything has changed. But here we are. So, of note, for those of you who used to join us live on Thursdays at 7, we will no longer be going live with the podcast for the foreseeable future. We may pick that up again later, but for now, we will just be on our video podcast on YouTube and then, of course, our audio podcast wherever you find your podcasts. So just a quick note there. So, but we'll go over news real quick. So we've got a lot of television news. So we've had Halo happen.
Yeah.
Moon Knight just premiered.
Yeah.
So be looking out on YouTube for our impressions video of the first episode of Moon Knight. And we'll probably do an impressions video of Halo once I finally watch it. I gotta subscribe to Paramount Plus first. But I found out today that since I'm a Game Pass Ultimate member, I get a free trial to Paramount Plus.
Cool.
Now, I did quite a couple of years ago, right after Discovery came out when it was CBS All Access. I did a trial then, I think.
There's a lot more content on there now.
Well, but what I'm worried about is the free trial won't apply to me because I'm not a new.
It's a new promotion, so it should be fine.
You would think.
Make a new email.
I mean, I did.
Right,
I did Game Pass on my same account. I got a free trial. The $1 for 3 months or whatever. Yeah. I did that 3 separate times. So.
Yeah. So, anywho, I need to watch it because I also need to get caught up on all the Star Trek shows that are out. Picard,
I didn't think it was
going
to be worth it because I don't care for Star Trek, and that's really their main thing.
That's a big thing, a big part of it. And Yellowstone stuff.
They've got Scream, Halo, all of the Nickelodeon shows are on there.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for the kids because I was a Nickelodeon kid growing up.
Yep. So just so everybody has huge cable bills, but that aren't cable bills.
Right.
We're right back to $170 bills.
Uh-huh. Yep. Cord cutters for the win. So I watched Moon Knight last night. I enjoyed it. It's first episode stuff. So it's kind of you're just waiting to see how MCU is going to their take on everything, right? And how they're gonna twist everything. But it was good. So in the vein of Moon Knight releasing, so when I was thinking of our top 3 topic for tonight, Crimefighters came to mind. So that will be our top 3 topic. So who are your top 3 crime fighters? And we all kind of had different interpretations of what that meant. Crime fighter. For Tanner, it was like detectives. For me and Cody, for the most part, it was street level crime fighters, heroes, stuff like that, defenders and all that stuff. Who are your top 3? Let us know in the comments, and definitely chime in on that. So without further ado, we'll get into it. So Cody's number 3, I have no clue it is. So why don't you go ahead and explain who Mikado is?
All right. So Mikado Ryugamine. He's just a kid, really, a kid in a private school, and that's what you're led to believe for pretty much the majority of his time in the anime.
Which anime was that?
Anime he comes from is Durarara, and it's about
Durarara exclamation point.
3 times.
Heard of,
3 times.
not watched.
Yes, I've heard of it too because that's a very unique name. But
probably my favorite of all time, and it takes place in a city that's like borderlines on contradictions. So it's like in some ways it's completely mystical, in other ways it's completely mundane. It's like it's a weird way to explain it. Is like there's a lot of characters that are like extraordinary, and they are supported by a lot of characters that are completely plain but stand out all their own. And it's like it's amazing to hear the cast.
So not quite wizards and muggles.
No, it's more like demigods and people.
Okay.
Right? Like that. But they're never really displayed as that. It's kind of cool. And in this city, there's a lot of gangs that run around. They're called color gangs. They all have their color that they represent and that they use for all their outfits and styling and all that.
Yeah.
And there's this one colored gang called the Dollars, and they don't have a color. That's their whole thing.
Oh.
No color.
They're colorless mana.
They seem to operate completely online, so like you don't really hear or see anything that they're doing in the streets. They're not like a lot of the other color gangs out, like, you know, robbing people, causing trouble,
Right.
You know, regular criminal mischief. And
They're like a cyber gang kind of thing?
it seems like it, but they do a lot of stuff in real life. You just never
Okay.
really know when they're organizing. You don't know who the leader is. You don't know how anything really goes. But the thing about this color gang is they keep all the other color gangs in check.
Okay.
They keep them from overstepping too many boundaries, from causing too much harm to people. They're like undercover superheroes, kind of. And
Okay.
pretty much anytime they're mobilized, they prevent crises of like mass scale. They prevent like crazy things from happening all the time, and no one even knows it's happening because of how they move. And you don't find out who the leader is until I can't remember exactly. It's like the last third of the entire anime.
So is this a feature or is it a series?
It's a series. It's a two-part series.
Okay.
And each part has, I want to say, 20 to 30 episodes.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Okay.
pretty good
Big
size.
series. Big series. Okay.
And yeah, in the last little bit, towards the end, you find out Mikado Ryugamine is the leader of the Dollars. And his introduction in the show is him coming to Ikebukuro for the first time. So you're led to believe he's completely like this naive child that doesn't know about anything
New
that
to the
happens
city.
in the city and
Yeah.
has no idea. And the whole time, that's just like kind of pounded into your head. You don't really have any reason to expect any different. Like the way he reacts to everything, the way everything plays out, it all seems new to him. And then when it comes out that he's the leader of the Dollars, he starts like mobilizing them to do different things and really like making it more known to the people around him that he is the leader.
Yeah.
And his friend who introduced him to the city and was showing him around and trying to like teach him things from the beginning is just blown away by like how much good he's done just by being a dumb kid at school.
So he had been the leader prior to this.
The whole time.
The whole
He
time.
was the
Okay.
leader.
He was just like a
coming
shadow
into-
leader.
Yeah, and he just never really represented that. He just like continued to be a kid.
Yeah.
And the way it works is so roundabout and so insane because when that's finally dropped, you're just like, oh my god, they really did. He really is like a hero. He really prevented like mass terrorist attacks, like bombs. Like he prevented so much stuff just by being, I don't know, like a mastermind, I guess.
There you go. I didn't know. Now I know. So that's cool. So from Durara, Mikado is Cody's number 3. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Tanner because your number 3 shows up later because your number 3 is my number 2. So we'll go ahead and go to your number 2, and that is Lucifer.
Yeah.
Of the television show
the
Lucifer,
television show.
not of the Bible.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure the Bible Lucifer, not a crime fighter.
Need to make that distinction.
Yeah. So when I think of crime, to me, crime fighting is the figuring out the whodunit, not so much the physical fighting of petty thieves. You know? So, and I think this is just an ironic entry, you know? That's what makes it so
the
good.
devil is the best crime fighter.
Yeah. Because he's doing it it starts purely out of curiosity.
It's a hobby.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
He has no desire to do anything good. He's just tagging along for funsies. And you really get attached to him as a character, which causes weird emotions because he is the devil.
Right.
But you're watching him go through these trials like a human would.
Yeah.
But also like what starts as a hobby to him gets to the point where he actually cares about trying to solve these crimes and the victims and stuff. So that's part of what attracted to me.
And he has probably one of the best superpowers as a detective, which is
making people reveal their desires.
Yeah, which is usually the truth, right? And kind of works as a somewhat of a lie detector to an extent. Yeah, I haven't watched much of Lucifer, just little bits and pieces, because he's working with police department, right?
Yes, LAPD.
Yeah, he's kind of embedded with the police department. Like Castle, only he doesn't write anything.
Yeah.
So
also his accent's dreamy. Which is funny because he's an American actor, and hearing him speak in interviews is weird.
he just has a proper Queen's British accent.
In the show, he does. Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, so my number 3 and my number 2 are kind of both down the list. So we'll jump back to Cody for your number 2. And and his your number 2 almost made my list, but didn't quite because he is a crime fighter and he does street level, but then he's also, and I don't know, I could say that about my number 3 that kind of skirts a little bit, but that's Ghostwriter.
I think a lot of the comic characters skirt the line.
They kind of have to. I mean, when you get into crossover events and stuff like that, they're all kind of pulled into the big
cosmic scale
Avengers level or Mystic level or whatever. But I would say on the whole, for the majority of Johnny Blaze's original run, he was fighting just gangs and stuff. So what is it about Ghostwriter that just makes him that guy?
I think it's the absolute prejudice and violence he attacks every criminal with.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say it's like the complete disregard for any amount of like civil discourse or any amount of like restraint or any of that. It's just like, they're a criminal. They're going to get punished to the full extent of whatever my powers say at that time.
Yeah.
And it's more than just entertaining. It's like poetic in a way.
Yeah.
It creates this kind of feeling of like, yes, please do that more. And like, I guess for me, it's just a lot of fun. Like I kind of I've seen a lot of crime, I guess, growing up, and so being around stuff like that and seeing someone that's so willing to just take care of it completely, no questions asked, no regard for any amount of whatever that
total
person
pragmatic.
has to say.
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling.
Yeah. And the penance stare is just a cool.
And that is one of the coolest powers I've ever seen.
Just all the pain they've inflicted on somebody else, they're getting it right back. That was always cool. And of course, motorcycle and chains. It's metal, right? Which, it's funny if you really lay him down, like you look at Spawn, right? Which Spawn didn't make any of our list, but I think he kind of falls into that a little bit, right?
Especially at first.
Yeah.
His first few arcs.
But you can see aspects of Ghost Rider in Spawn, right? That very much he's an agent of something nefarious, but is using it to
the Crow
to do good, and to grow and everything, and then of course in Spawn you also see aspects of Moon Knight, right? They're kind of Todd McFarlane. Nothing's original, right? You're just always making your own spin on it. But yes, I love Ghost Rider. I like Dan Ketch as Ghost Rider. As the second Ghost Rider, because like I said, that's when in middle school when I kind of started writing comics, and I was pretty much reading X-Men and like a lot of the Midnight Suns stuff back then, which second Ghost Rider's power set was almost identical to Johnny Blaze's. But yeah, superheroes on motorcycles, badass.
Or flaming skeletons wearing spiky jackets on flaming motorcycles.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
I remember one year for Halloween, back when I actually used to dress up. I don't do that anymore. Back in middle school, I went as Morbius, because Morbius was one of the Midnight Suns. That was like his first big anti-hero run.
Okay.
Was back during that Midnight Suns arc. And then my buddy went as Ghost Rider, which he had long blonde hair. So like his mom did her best to make his hair look like flames. It did not look like he looked like Beetlejuice. It was hilarious. So, and we rode around on our bikes. Even though Morbius didn't have a motorcycle, but I wasn't gonna be able to fly to keep up with him on his bike. So there you go. Okay. So moving on, we have my number 2, which is Tanner's number 3, and that is Batman.
Yes.
Probably one of the most popular crime fighters. And he very much is that street level fighter, the detective, which I was so happy. Have you watched The Batman yet?
No. So HBO changed their deal.
Yeah.
Right before the movie released.
Yeah, it's not coming out till later this month, I think.
45 days after it leaves theaters.
45, yeah. I will say The Batman is probably the best representation of him being a detective since the animated series, which, animated series was always my favorite interpretation of Batman. That's just, I grew up with that. I just thought it was great. I mean, I did watch like the Adam West show, and he was definitely a detective in that. It's easy to be a detective when you always have the thing you need to solve the crime,
right?
Just out of nowhere. Preparation was his superpower,
especially when it's conveniently branded too.
Yes, exactly. The bat shark repellent. because I just always carry that with me, even when I'm in the desert. Batman, I'm not a huge DC guy, period. But like Batman is just one of those genres that I can get into. You understand, but everybody knows his origin story. Everybody knows his villains. Like him or hate him.
I think his obsession over the Gotham crime is what makes it such a compelling crime story.
Yeah, he has to get rid of it. It is his mission to get rid of it because he was traumatized by it.
He's just the perfect character for that sort of genre. That's what made the Arkham games so much fun because you got to fight all the bad guys, but you also had to figure out what was going on.
Stuff.
Yeah.
It
was just as much a puzzle game as it was a action adventure.
Yeah, and I like the Arkham games because they were written by Paul Dini, who had done a lot of the animated series stuff. So there's so much of the animated series DNA that came into that.
Well, and he gave us so many popular characters that moved to the comics and all the other I mean,
gave us Harley Quinn, gave us a Mr. Freeze that people actually give a crap about.
Yeah,
really,
you can
really
actually sympathize with.
Yeah,
to some extent.
Yeah, really kind of changed his arc and a lot of the characters for that matter. Which I've always thought Batman is stronger because of his villains. Because he has that huge rogues gallery, a lot like Spider-Man.
Well, and Batman in particular, I've never thought about it too much with Spider-Man and his gallery, but what makes Batman so well is each villain is Bruce if his personality leaned just a little bit further in one direction or another.
Okay. Yeah.
So like the Joker is Bruce if he crosses that line of killing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we got the Batman Who Laughs.
Yeah.
Two-Face is him because he sees everything in black and white. It's just a little bit farther to that extreme.
Yeah.
And there's a really good book on it called Batman and Psychology that goes further into depth of all this stuff. But
yeah,
it's crazy how many mind games are in that
totally
comic
get
if
it,
you look
because
into it.
the way Riddler uses like his ability to solve things.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that. If he turned it on the flip side, Scarecrow, his whole thing is fear.
Right.
Scarecrow takes fear to the extreme. So.
It's all those aspects of him just amplified to a nefarious.
Bane is really cerebral, but he also took his physical to an absolute to the point of breaking.
Yeah.
And that's if Batman. Yeah, I totally. Yeah. I can see. I
Yeah.
can see where
Everybody's
that's coming
Batman, but just to an extreme. I was today years old. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and jump to. We're into the number ones already. Man, we're just chugging right along. So staying in the detective vein. Your number one was Hannibal Lecter.
Yes, it is. Have either of you guys seen the show, not the movies?
I did not watch the television show. I've only ever watched Manhunter, which was like the original film adaptation from 1981 or something like that. Had the guy from CSI in it, and then Silence of the Lambs are the only two of the Lecterverse I've actually ever watched.
The TV show is fantastic.
I read the book.
It's very gory though.
Yes,
but
he eats people, so that tracks.
So it's a prequel to the movies,
right?
So he's out. He's not in prison. This is way before anyone suspects him of anything, and he's basically he's a psychologist, but he's a contract profiler for the FBI. And so he's working on this high-profile serial case up in the East Coast, that area, helping them solve this. And so he's helping them solve this, and it gets to a point where there are multiple murders going on, but half of them are the serial killer, half of them are Hannibal.
So he's fighting crime and making it.
But even you as the viewer don't know which ones are which until the grand reveal at the season finale.
Yeah, which that one got killed early.
It did 3 seasons.
Okay,
it did 2 on I don't remember which network. I
think it was like on Fox or NBC. I can't remember, one of the two.
It did 2 seasons on that, and then Amazon picked it up for season 3.
Okay, because that was like Mads Mikkelsen's kind of first big states. Kind of big role.
And he's a fantastic Hannibal.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be in Fantastic Beasts now.
Is he Beast?
He is. He's Grindelwald now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Johnny Depp got fired. Yeah. So, yep. And his brother is Grand Admiral Thrawn.
I love him. And he's in so many movies I didn't realize he was in.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the Knights of the Round Table in that mid 2000s version where they're in like Rome.
He was, wasn't he?
He was.
Yes, he was the Falconer guy.
Yes,
wasn't he?
But I don't remember which knight that was.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Something in Celtic.
Galahad in that same movie is the main like actual detective in the Hannibal show.
Yep. Tanner's just thought bombing the crap out of me today. I don't know what to do with myself.
Mads also had a big role in Death Stranding recently. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
he was. Yeah.
And then he had a comic book movie-ish recently. I forget what comic it's based on, but he's like a hitman whose daughter gets kidnapped, I believe, and he just like goes on a revenge quest and murders everyone.
Like
Taken the Norwegian version.
Only he's a hitman instead of an agent, whatever Liam Neeson was.
I do wish they would have done more with him in Doctor Strange because I love him as an actor.
That's Caecilius. Yeah,
I think they're bringing him back. I think that's like he was such a popular character. I think that the multiverse is gonna have.
Yeah,
him
I mean
appear.
the universe has exploded. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
There's no limits.
Iron Man's coming back for sure.
Yeah,
we all know it.
They can recast people. They can bring people back from the dead. They can invalidate everything that pulled our heartstrings. They're gonna bring Robert Downey Jr. back in some way, and
I'd rather them bring him back than bring in Tom Cruise.
I really want to see his superior Iron Man.
I was gonna say I would be okay with it if it's superior because I think he would fit.
He's psychotic. Like,
Yeah.
It just
yeah.
works.
Yeah.
It just works.
So, but to kind of also have that Stark swagger, I think Cruise could pull it
I really
off.
do. I really think he would just be a snarkier, like more
not tall enough.
annoying version.
I can't imagine
Stark?
Robert Downey Jr. is that.
Yeah, I was
super
gonna
tall.
say Robert Downey Jr. has to wear like giant platforms to be tall enough for those movies.
Yeah. So there you go. Hannibal Lecter, number one. Tanner, as crime fighters look up to. Tanner looks up to serial killers.
And the devil.
Tanner, do we need to pray for you? All right. So my number one is Spider-Man. He's like the neighborhood crime fighter, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I just, I literally, like Batman and Spider-Man, I think are the two and Superman. Like, I don't remember ever finding out about them. They just were always there.
Existed, yeah.
They were just, you had pajamas of them. You had, and then, like I said, Spider-Man is he's just a great, Peter Parker is just a great character, hands down, period. Because you relate to him on so many levels. You see him grow up. So if you start reading him as a kid, like if you go back and read like older Spider-Man or like Ultimate or whatever, you get to see that progression, right? And yeah, his villains are just awesome, and he has so many of them.
He has the best villains in Marvel.
Yeah. And
and the Avengers.
Yeah.
And the Avengers, because they got some cool villains.
They do.
got some cool villains.
Yeah, but I think for one superhero, his actual rogues gallery, I think as far as Marvel goes, is hands down the most.
Well, I mean, how many of his villains that started out as villains in his rogues gallery became anti-heroes and heroes? Like, so many of them were so popular.
Yeah.
Venom, the Punisher, Morbius.
You reach that point of popularity where, like, okay, this character can't be this popular and still be a bad guy. We have to write them into being a good guy.
They did pretty good keeping Doc Ock for a villain for the most part. Of course, he had Superior run. I don't know where he is in the universe now. He's jumping multiverse, isn't he?
That's in
Where did he go?
whatever they're doing with the Daredevil stuff. The
Devil's Reign.
Devil's Reign.
Okay.
He in the actual Spider-Man comics, he's kind of skirting around Beyond Corporation
Yeah.
because they stole a bunch of his tech.
Okay.
And so he's trying to get back at them. But in Devil's Reign, he is going to all the multiverses, trying to get up all the Doc Ocks to make a superior arm. Like
Superior Doc Ock.
Yeah.
So whose body did he go back into after he left Parker's?
He went to like he was basically dead and Mephisto'd back to life.
Yeah. Mephisto trump card.
Yeah.
He just changed everything. And of course, Green Goblin.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Green Goblin. And no, there's no redeeming qualities of Norman Osborn. He's an a-hole all the way around.
So I'm sure, kind of going back to our news a little bit, y'all have heard about the clap that heard around the world at the Oscars, the slap.
Yeah.
So I saw a meme the other day, and it was a picture of Andrew Garfield sitting at the Oscars, like texting. And he was like, when you're texting all your other Peter Parkers to see if Will Smith slapped
Chris Rock
in their universe.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I'll always be down for a Spider-Man movie.
Always.
I just
the animated series from the 90s is one of my favorites.
I loved
best,
it.
yeah.
I loved it. It was great.
So much.
With the guy who played Greg Brady in the movies. So, okay. So Spider-Man, great. That was my number 1. So my number 3, it was actually also Cody's number 1, and that is The Man Without Fear, Daredevil. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. What? So, and we were talking before the podcast. Daredevil is your favorite superhero
ever,
hands
at
down,
all,
right?
For any reason.
Okay. Take it away.
I mean, everything about him. From the fact that he went blind as a little kid, he had a crazy, super badass fighting dad. Like he
had a boxer dad that died.
He was a badass, though.
Yeah,
he was a badass.
And that's his origin story. But then he had kind of a surrogate dad that was also a badass.
And that was the ninja,
Yeah.
ex-ninja, rogue ninja. I don't know how to call it. He's a
Yeah.
dude who went against everything that the people who tried to train him to be a killer did. And he's still a killer, but like for good. At least he tries to be.
Yeah.
Stick tries to be a good guy. He does.
Yeah.
He puts some effort.
He's just an a-hole old man.
Yeah.
See, Hannibal tries to be a good guy. He just gets hungry.
Yeah.
Well, he can have a Snickers bar. People don't eat people.
He's got a hankering that only fingers can suffice.
And then leading through his teen years, the way he after he gets training from Stick and then refines a lot of that for himself because Stick doesn't quite have the ability set that he has.
Right.
Like it's very similar.
He's
'cause
just blind.
too.
He's not like radioactive,
Yeah.
super blind.
Yeah, he's not. And so he refines a lot of it, learns a lot of his own new abilities essentially. And it just, all of his growth and progression to becoming like this guy who really does fear nothing. And he is just a guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't wear a super set of armor. He doesn't have super high-tech weapons or any sort of real gadgetry.
I don't know. That Billy Club can do a lot of cool things.
Hey, that is all him, though. That is mechanical work. And it's just like that. The fact that he's just a guy doing everything that he does, really holding up with all the other superheroes like the Avengers and all these people who are metahumans, who are really super powered. It's inspiring to see.
But then also fighting crime on another front with his alter as a lawyer and doing it the legitimate way, and then at night, doing it the vigilante way. So really, really fighting crime on 2 different levels. Or I guess he's a defender, but.
And I really love how he's constantly stumbling over the fact he has to convince people he's blind, because he's not really blind, but
he doesn't see.
But
he's not blind. Yeah.
And so he always he'll say something and be like, "Oh wait, I'm supposed to be blind.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to know this or be able to." Yeah, it's great. I love that.
No, his cameo in Far From Home was just
Phenomenal.
It was just fantastic.
How did you do that? I'm a really good lawyer.
I'm a really good lawyer. I'm just so glad he's going to stay Daredevil, because the Daredevil television series, if they just completely invalidated it, that would just hurt, because that show was just great. It was shot well. The thing that sold me on that television series,
Episode 2, hallway fight.
the hallway fight, that is
Every time.
that is just one, those extended take shots, those one take shots where, because in film theory, the longer you stay on a shot without cutting or whatever, you're building anxiety. You are making the viewer as weary as your subject is. And he was, and I mean, that fight was him just being freaking tired at the end of it. I mean,
it was everything he had.
You just see him kind of like collapse against the wall, and somebody else would pop up, and he'd charge back and
thinking
just
about
go.
it. I get goosebumps every time.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh man.
Which they recreate. They've done it in every season, right? I have not watched season 3 yet.
They
did 1 and 2.
Fight.
They did an extended fight in 2. So it's kind of been that thing, but
they had a couple of them in season 3, but one of them I'm thinking he's fighting with Elektra, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And then the Defenders, they did one with him and Iron Fist, which was so cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't like the way they did Iron Fist a lot, but when they came together for the Defenders miniseries, they really played off of each other well.
Really need to finish Iron Fist because
it sucks, honestly.
I have a hard time.
Yeah, honestly, the second season
down.
isn't worth it. Like, watch the first season, that's good. I wouldn't even start the second season.
Well, then I panicked because all of a sudden they were off Netflix.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but luckily, I mean, it was like weeks before Disney Plus picked it all back up again.
Right.
Speaking of Disney Plus, as an aside, have you heard about all like the stealth edits they're doing to stuff? So like apparently in Falcon and Winter Soldier, there was like a scene where a dude like gets all bloodied or whatever that they went and edited back and cleaned it up and like tamed it down.
Yeah, they've been doing that since they've started original content on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I had no clue. So,
yeah, a lot of people have been pointing it out.
Yeah.
On social media and stuff, you can just see the side by sides. Lots of times it's not really crazy changes, but sometimes
it's like at this point now, like since they've launched the parental control stuff, which of course people are all in
kids
arms.
Kids are smart.
Yeah.
They know how to bypass that.
It's true. It is true. But I mean, they do it. Like I said, nobody has ever gated their content to separate platforms.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All of Paramount's content is there. All of Netflix's content is there. You just have to, I hate to say it.
People threw a fit when Free Guy hit Disney Plus.
Yeah. And it's PG-13. It's not even, yeah. Just deal with it. It's Disney's content. Hulu's going to go away eventually. And it will all just be one big.
And it'll save me $7 a month when it does.
Probably not. They'll probably do enough price increases before then.
I was going to say, they keep doing it every year.
Yeah.
They're raising
that
it
it'll just be whatever they combined.
%.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't get hopeful about that at all.
Because it was cheap when it first came out. Disney Plus was like $60 a year. Now it's like $80.
Yeah. Which I do the bundle with Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. And it's still a good value.
I did it for a little while, but ESPN Plus doesn't have anything. Like,
well, I'm a hockey fan, so all the out of market hockey games are on it now. So I finally got my money's worth out of it. Now, prior to that, I did not watch it. No.
ESPN Plus it was whack. I tried to have it, and I was like, man, this is not. Yeah. I could literally watch most of everything for free on NBA and NFL.com. Yeah, and I'm good there.
Yeah,
I only watch sports physically in the venue. Otherwise, I don't care.
I know, Tanner. Okay. So yeah, Daredevil's awesome. I love him too. He's just, I don't know. He's just.
I was kind of sad he didn't show up in Hawkeye because I was like ready for it.
Oh, in relation to that, what happened to Wilson Fisk? Did he die? Like I was real confused.
He's not dead.
Because they never. Every time they showed him, he was still just laying there on the ground.
Yeah, you don't leave it that ambiguous if you're not going to do something. So they're more than likely what I'm thinking they will probably end up doing is there was an arc where he goes blind, where somebody like basically shoots him in the eyes or whatever and blinds him for a little bit. I'm wondering if that's something like that. He's just seriously injured, not dead. That she didn't actually just straight up kill him.
Even in the comics and stuff, it's acknowledged that he doesn't have superpowers,
but he's
a lot stronger than anyone else because he goes toe to toe with Spider-Man.
Which you finally saw it because I don't know that you ever saw that in Daredevil. That he was.
Oh yeah, you saw it.
You did. That he was that.
Like when he grabs dude by like right here and then picks him straight up and slams him on a glass table. Some crazy stuff that Batman does.
Vincent D'Onofrio's King.
Dude, he's so cool.
Like again, with Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, like. You couldn't cast those two better.
Honestly, my favorite fights in the Daredevil series was him and Wilson Fisk. Like the one in the alleyway where he finally beats him. That was amazing. Yeah. He like just drops his billy club down his jaw and is like, "You're done, dude. Lay down. Don't get up." He tells him to. Don't get up.
Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch and binge through. So, all right, guys. Well, that is our top 3 crime fighters. What is your top 3? Be sure to comment below and let us know. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and hit the bell and all the things when we get new content. We've got a lot of great content coming out on our YouTube over the next couple of weeks. We'll be doing the other day, I pulled all of our staff and did some rapid fire questions and got all their opinions on a ton of different questions across Geekdom. That'll be going. Sarah has her FOC videos every week. You need to be checking that out. We'll be having our first impression videos of the Halo and Moon Knight series. So you definitely want to stay glued to our YouTube for that. If you are watching us on YouTube and you want to take us on the go, we are available wherever audio podcasts are found. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Unknown Comics Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.